much. Unfortunately, we should be probably talking about him. It's just easy to forget, really. I mean, brutally honest here. It's easy to forget the up-and-coming Korean players because they don't actually appear in the round of 8 even that often. And they don't, break through into GSL groups that often. So if you're fortunate enough to cast them repeatedly, then of course you're going to remember them. But if you're not, then it's easy to forget. But Spear actually has been GM and pretty decent for a while. It is still nonetheless surprising to see him up 1-0 against Armani. That I still would not have expected. But yeah, it's already one game in. Game number 2 here on Nightshade. Bottom right, it's Armani. Top left, we have Spear. Into the Spear. Armani going for a pool first. We might have missed a 2 racks for game number 1. I'm not saying that's the only way Spear could have won, but certainly a way that you win. Go ahead and start with that cheese. And Armani's pool first either is going to be, okay, I don't want to die against this again because that was silly. Or maybe he just really wants to mix things up. Get the edge on his opponents since he's going to be the more experienced when it comes to at least the big stages. Actually getting a lot of pressure on him. You can try and influence your opponent who's a little less experienced. The more that you bring it to them to make decisions and make the hard calls. In a typical macro game against anyone who's able to just do their build, well, then you got to worry about most of the other things you'd worry about facing innovation. Spear can probably hit similar timings if he has nothing to worry about. Probably. But I really don't know what happened last game. So this is all conjecture. And hitting 2 racks timings is not that difficult. The micro is more difficult. The Spear actually not going for a Reaper. I did notice that he intentionally kept 2 out of 3 on gas instead of 3 out of 3. His factory also goes way far behind, so maybe just a weird build is what threw Armani off. That Spear definitely opening up differently. Using any gas he did get to, of course, get the factory, but then also just actually bank it up here. Gonna use the barracks to kill the Overlord, who's trying to escape death. Armani did make a couple of lings, but not really anticipating 3 Marines, I would say. 3 Marines against 6 lings, the 3 Marines technically should win. Well, properly controlled. It's actually a very even unit counts if they're not controlled. If they get surrounded, they're dead. Gonna pull a couple SCVs, because that wasn't going too hot. It's usually 2 lings for each Marine is like the actual, like literally the mineral cost and also the way they can bat each other. 4 lings to a Zealot. But definitely better to pull those SCVs. Nice handling of that from Spear. He did get the Overlord as well, so that can't scout. Most importantly, like we're talking about scouting as in like seeing maybe the main base, moving it in later for a suicide scout. In this case, it's actually scouting to see how many Hellions there are. I mean, this freebie Overlord scouting, seeing Hellions or no Hellions is a big deal. No Hellions means a 2-on-1, generally. And then seeing no supply depots can also start telling you things as well. Like, is it a fast 3rd CC? Or is he trying to hide his supply depot somewhere else because he's not building them? Or he's building a lot of them because he's actually doing a Hellbat attack or something like that. But look at this. The Ling actually gets inside the main base, sees, yes, it is a 3rd CC. But not only that there wasn't even Hellion production. Reactor Hellion production, I should say. So a weird way to do something that we see a decent amount. Fast 3 CC into from a 1-1-1 can still happen, but in this case it was like the 3rd CC was a bit faster, right? You don't have to spend as many minerals on Hellions, literally 3, not even 4. Which is usually what we see when a fast 3rd CC comes down. You still manage to fit in the starport as well in a single Banshee against any like early Roach attacks. I mean, it's a pretty cool build. That's maybe its weakness would be overwhelming amounts of lings in the early game because 3 Hellions is really not super convincing. But he is getting all those things that like a couple of lings he could deal with, a couple of Roaches he could deal with, and he still is able to provide a little bit of pressure. But he's going to have a much faster transition. got the fast 3rd CC, and that's nice, but also talking about the barracks here coming down. He's going to have that faster transition to go for a pretty fast drop. Not, you know, the 530 drop. TY has a build that I think actually Clem used yesterday in TSL. But anyways, but it's like maybe 6 minutes? 6:30, maybe more so. 6:30, he's going to have a decent drop. So it is a lot of just like different ways to the same... It's different journeys to the same destination. The aliens do get surrounded. Whether they were 3 or 4. That was just a good grab by Armani. He's continuing to push out his creep spread. Bailey Nest came down. Actually, I think it came down earlier because he was like, what the hell's going on? And then he realized with the Ling getting in the main base that he didn't need a Bailey Nest. So he's rebuilding that. And he's finishing, he's going to be finishing +1 a lot faster than his opponent. Certainly with time to set up a surround with the upgrade lead. Centrifugal hooks might be the problem here, but with good creep spread, you can hope to make up for that. Buy more time. Into the spear, I might not even be going for a drop at all, but rather into, well, okay, the second tank didn't come out as fast as I thought it would. No, I think he's gonna do the drop then. Tank's getting into position to actually defend, not attack, but I was wondering if he could also do like the same 2-tank push you would see from a lot of builds, but I don't think he can. I don't know about this. Okay, he's gonna go with 1 tank. Alright. His build was not very perfect. I mean, it's pretty good. It's just I've noticed a couple of supply depots, and maybe the gas wasn't refilled as fast as it could have been type thing. But 2 tanks is usually what you want. This looks a little bit awkward, but he's still hitting around 630, which Armani just will not have centrifugal hooks for. But he does have that 1-1. No combat shields yet either, and being way aggressive onto that creep, so easily surrounded, forced to retreat. Tank taken out pretty quickly without really helping too much. And that did not look very pretty. Armani didn't even necessarily really prepare for that. He was kind of initially like, oh, what the heck? And then just brought his army forward and dealt with it. So not what Spear was looking for. Now, it's possible that Armani was struggling against that push last game and is now just like wise to it. So that's why he had as many Lings as he had. But that did not look very pretty. That second tank that's usually with the push is now back at home defending. Even if he had a second tank, the way that he engaged, that was probably not going to work out too well. Usually you see this right here used to protect your tanks a bit more. But there's so much creep spread. He chose to dive instead, and, well, neither one probably would have worked. Follow-up Marine attack is totally fine, yeah, because they can actually evacuate. And going for that creep spread removal. Definitely called for. Don't use... Blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, you can't lose your Marines all the time doing that. Armani getting a nice find there, and half that would-be drop. And his creep queens are still alive, so that's going to be instantly replaced. 4th CC's on the way. No second factory. Adding on those 3 barracks. Scanning the main, trying to see if there's a hive on the way or a spire finished up, and Muta's about to attack into him. It is going to be that hive. Infestation pit's done, not a spire. So that's one less thing for Spear to worry about, at least. No mutas that are going to come across the map to build missile turrets for, but it does mean that you're also going to have to deal with ultras, maybe faster than you would like. He does have the extra barracks that are going to have tech labs, so he's going to beef up his army count. His army type against ultras, but he's got to be really careful. Like, I don't know about not getting a second factory, for instance. Typically, it's like it's 3 CC, really dedicated 8 rocks pressure, or it's like a faster second factory and a 4th command center. It's like typically what we see, but in this case, he's going right to the bio. Has not actually used his barracks to get that overwhelming bio count yet. The Marine King Prime Wings of Liberty type of bio count that suddenly you're just like, oh, these Marauders just simply won't die. He's still on that pure Marine tank. There come the Marauders now, and 2-2 also finishing up this. I mean, into the Spear constantly just getting, like, little things just little off. Didn't have combat shields for this push, for instance. Didn't have a second tank for this push, for that would-be push. Didn't have his 2-2. But he is keeping up in the supply enough that I think defensively he doesn't die. But he really just cannot find a push potential here. It's not working out very well. He's also not finding too much of his drops either. Armani's going to go for a big Ling run by. He's going to grab a tank. Certainly not bad. Tank's slower to produce, especially off of one factory. They cost gas. Usually worth even a decent amount of Lings. Drop still being taken care of. Probably most importantly, not letting those slip and get into a natural or third base. I don't think any drones have died. Armani up to 91 drones. Is on his way to 3-3 Ultraless Cavern. He already built a couple of Vipers. Sometimes the tank count can be increasing. You know, there is a second factory producing. Now there's 7 tanks about to attack into a location like this one. And Vipers are really good at helping with that one, but that is actually not the worry here. The Vipers are nonetheless good units, but they're not going to be taking care of tanks. In fact, Armani just doesn't even need anything else besides Lings and Banelings. Actually running into the spear with Ling and Baneling and not enough splash to really help out. No Widow Mines added into this composition. The army not getting a good concave at all. Forced to just try and retreat. They do retreat into a planetary rather they die. I mean, they retreated, they died. But Armani cannot break the planetary. So that's the good news here for Into the Spear. And he did grab a base. That's where the rest of his armor supply was. Unfortunately, diving a bit too much onto creep. He got a base and 15 drones, which is usually pretty good, but he loses a big chunk of his supply. Medevac goes down, and Armani has another base, and he was on 91 drones, so like losing 15 is not a big deal. Not unless there is an immediate follow-up, which he knows there isn't. He just took out the reinforcements. Any potential second push or second drop that could come out, he just took it out. So Armani's still pretty safe. Not too worthwhile of a trade, I would say, for Spear, but not one that's going to end the game either. So, like, oh, okay. All right, then. 5th CC now on the way, as this could be a very long game indeed. Nightshade typically giving us longer TVZs. But Armani just has, like, I feel all the influence in this game goes to Armani. He's got creep spread, he's got bases, he's got technology. Spear's going to have to really show us some good defensive Terran play, which he is being set up for. Still no second starport, but we did have a Ghost Academy finish up, and his upgrades are finishing up too. Looks like he transferred that one factory over to make Widow Mines, which I do think is better. Also harder for the Vipers to help take out. Planetary is still a pretty mighty thing to actually tear down. And the army doesn't look too bad, but a good parasitic bomb. So many medevacs going to take damage here. He does try and micro them away, but also Baneling's crashing into the SCVs that repair the planetary. Still enough to do so. Widow Mine's not getting too many great shots, but he's going to push back this push. He unfortunately loses like 19 SCVs in the process. Some to the Banelings on the left side, and some to the SCVs lost the Lings on the right side. It's going to be difficult to hold this side without, you know, at least a couple of Widow Mines. I would say a couple of tanks, but with, like, tanks just, they help each other, right? Early game, maybe 2 tanks are kind of scary, but the longer the game goes, just 1 or 2 tanks defensively, just, Lings are going to actually kill that. And yesterday's TSL actually proved that just random-ass Widow Mines all around the map is actually the way to go. So, Widow Mines here are going to be a lot better helping to take care of that, or Baneling run-bys, which he just catch in this instance with his bio moving across, to secure his 5th. Armani has gotten back to his 6th base, also has a couple of static defense structures, is preparing to get either Corruptors and Broodlords, right? Liberators start making their way through. Corruptors can be really nice to add on. The Vipers can abduct the Liberators, but they can't actually really kill them. Nothing can kill Liberators in this army, in fact. So Corruptors can be added on. I'm thinking some more for Broodlords. Giving him a ton of options. He's going to try and take an engagement here. Decent concave for the Terran. Another good parasitic bomb. I'm seeing a lot of opportunities when the medevacs are awfully stacked up, but Into the Spear, like, not doing a terrible job splitting them. It'd be much, much worse. And with that concave, with the upgrades, he does take on the Ultras that didn't have a whole lot of Ling support. That's when the Ultras are supposed to just soak all the damage. The Ling Baneling actually does its thing, is usually what happens. The Lings get the surround, the Banelings get the hits, and the Ultras actually get the chomp away. You're microing against pure Ultra, it's actually pretty easy. In this instance, once again, a little overeager. Into the Spear takes one good fight, wants to chase after, but that was on creep, that was with a lot more Ling Baneling. Didn't actually have reason to do that. He needs to be just more defensive. He is nowhere close to max out, and you gotta be assuming in this type of game that the Zerg player is maxing out fairly easily. He took out one base 3 minutes ago. Big whoop. There was another base over here. And even if Spear didn't know that, which he did, he actually was trying to drop it. Even if he didn't know that, that is the assumption that you have to make, I would say. You have to assume that the Zerg player actually has a bit of a bank and is taking over the map, because you're not dropping it, you're not killing bases, and you're not taking the most efficient engagements. Get back to me when he starts, 14 ultras died to a bunch of snipes. Then he can go across the map. But Armani's not going to make that mistake. I think there was a time when everyone was like, oh, ultras are really good, especially when they had one more armor than they do now. But now we realize they're more just to complement that hatchery-based army, the Ling Baneling, with upgrades. Corruptors were made, helping tear down those medevacs that always got so weak to the parasitic bomb, but not quite dead. Good concave again, available for Spear, though. Armani's not going to dedicate to the planetary, but rather jump on top of the army. Oh, the Widow Mine, so useless. Oh, God, I saw that coming. I saw them targeting the Overseers, and I was like, oh, you're going to suck, aren't you?
Thank you for appeasing.
That's exactly what happened. Armani very intentionally doing that, by the way. He saw the opportunity as well. Planetary went down to a bunch of banelings, it looks like, is into the Spear. Not only can he not, realistically micro in 2 places at once all the time, he also just didn't have the supply to do that. He really needed to dig deep into the turtle mode, honestly. Get to at least 170, 180 supply, I would say, and then also start dropping with that. Because 180 supply, maybe 20 supply of drops, like that's where you're going to actually be able to defend with a planetary, have enough to spread around in case they do go like, okay, screw you, I'm going to attack you. And the drops are getting more of that control over the game, denial of the creep spread, denial of further bases. But into the Spear, never getting enough supply, basically. And now all of his bases are going to go down. Planetary, easy indication that Armani knows the size of Spear's army. It's going to easily go down. Spear is saying F it and just going through the middle of the map, but this is going to end in disaster. I tell you, it is. The armor supply doesn't look that bad, but it actually is. Initially not even really getting a good start here. As the Banelings crash into a very bulked up bio count. This is a very easy cleanup, GG. Armani ties up the series. Crichton next. Thank you for that Twitch Prime sub. Very quickly into the next game.
Warning. Philanthropist programs detected in comms.
Hey, Lagos. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Much appreciated. This early morning. Early morning Starcraft. Tied up now in the top left, we have the Blue Zerg Armani. In the bottom right, as the Red Terran, it is into the Spear. We generally call him Spear. Somehow getting that first map, but we don't know how. Second map looked more like we would expect. Armani dealing with everything Spear had to throw at him. Like, every part of that game, Armani was totally prepared for. In part because he got a really nice scout. But it's not that Spear was going for, like, surprise 2BCs anyways. It was a macro build that he still got to execute. It just still didn't look very good. Armani was totally prepared, took care of it, and then Spear just couldn't really deal with late game Zerg. Which is awfully tricky. But we see other Terrans actually control, especially like it so many times those late game TVZs are on Nightshade. We've seen other Terrans, how they control the late game. It's not that you have to turtle like, old school Terran early legs of the Void Turtle, like missile turrets everywhere and ravens everywhere, right? And ghosts stacked up. But it's that you have to have a certain supply prepared to defend and then harassing at the very least. And then only when you really understand your situation, you really got the check, you see like, look, this many bases, it's this type of army, he probably has this much bank, which is always hard to guess, but the more you're active you are in a game, the easier it is to guess. That's when I can move across the map slowly and surely. That was something that Spear wasn't really doing. Anytime that he might have had an opportunity to move forward and clear up creep, he always overextended. But that was a cool little build he did last game. He's going to go back to what we expect this time. Factory close to the barracks and a Reaper instead of 3 Marines. SCV scouts looking to deny a 3rd hatchery, but no drone being sent out. Armani realizes it's probably not going to happen if he even tried, so he's going to wait on that, get a couple of lings, get his queens.
Warning. Philanthropist programs detected in
Wow,
comms
thank you very much for
before.
another 5 gifted subs, Aligos. Appreciate that. If you got a sub, make sure to thank him. Heck yeah. Keeping that subscriber count up. Never gonna fall below 1,000. Just kidding, we definitely are, but... Later. Don't worry about that right now. We're excited because people can now spam cat emotes. That's the most important thing. More people spamming cat emotes. Alright, so Armani, he takes the other 3rd. Which Spear was unable to block out here. But at least he scouts, so nothing so far coming from Armani. Actually, Overlord speed, so I heavily doubt any early aggression. Oh, thanks, man. Some nice words from Aligos as well. So, into the Spear goes for a... Yeah, as I said, well, okay, never mind, actually. He's building Marines. I saw the 3rd TC, and I was like, yeah, okay. No, he never actually swapped off the factory. So, again, another one of those, like, different destination... Slightly different destination, but mostly different execution. He is still going to get Hellions, but he's going to have a bit of a Marine with a Mind Drop to start things off. This was a build a long time ago, but generally doesn't happen anymore. It has more potential to kill, you know, a queen or a couple of drones than Hellions typically do, so there's that. It is thoroughly scouted, but on the other hand, Armani did lose Overlords, so... And it's not like it's so dedicated that he doesn't do damage with it. It's just a terrible build, right? Because he has a 3rd CC, so... Actually, the Overlord's dying is probably already decent enough. The Hellions are more so to protect against like Ling run-bys, Ling swells, and he probably doesn't even get to 6. He's gonna stop at 4. And swap off, so... Okay, yeah, I like it. So far, so good for Spear. He's gonna find another Overlord here. Overlord speed. Might just be able to save it, and then... I was gonna say, like, the decision to actually chase these Overlords or try and do some damage might be a tough one. I would say take the guaranteed damage, right? Obviously, Armani knows you're about to drop him, so you're probably not gonna get too many drones. And on top of that, just in general, Zergs have gotten good against micring against such so few units. This is interesting. That's pretty clever. So he puts the Marines out, the Woodmine outs, puts the Hellions into the medevac. Either way, it's going to be scouted. And as long as the Lings are there, they'll take care of Hellions or Marines. So as clever as it is, it just got scouted. That's unfortunate. He's going to try and save the Hellions. Only a single queen targeting the medevac means that he absolutely should be able to, but there's the 3 queens. He's not paying attention either. He does fully unload the Hellions at the very least, so they're still available to turn to Hellbats later to defend his 3rd CC, but not controlling them either. Like, he should definitely have skedaddled. Okay, he's going to save 3 of them. Sucks to lose the medevac, though. Really does. That could have been alive for a long time. Constantly threatening those drops, but oh well. 3rd CC on location, forward position, moving on over to all the barracks production. Tech lab for the tank production. As the lair finishes up, we got 1-1 already on the way for Armani, almost already finished, and immediately into typical hooks. Immediately. Hellions, I think it's your time. Just accept your fate. With 2 medevacs, he absolutely should go for a bit of a push and just drop when things get scary. Just pick up, go into the drop phase. Not building SCVs, I think it's actually just a mistake. It is a huge mistake. There are 3 CC, I'm putting in quotation marks, 3 CC all-ins from Terrans, but they don't build SCVs on the 3rd CC, but I don't think it's very good. And I'm not sure that's actually what he's doing, because he's building an armory as well. This drop did not go as planned. Losing a medevac and that many Marines is absolutely not what you want to have happen. While also dealing with the, well, this is why he lost it, because he was also getting Ling run by. Nothing to defend against that. Killed 8 SCVs. They were forced to be pulled to help the Marines coming out one by one. And even if he was planning on some type of weird all-in, despite getting an armory, well, the SCV count is now too low to do that, so he has to replace it. More Lings come across the map, trying to take advantage of the limited production with a 5th barrack still, no reactor on it. I think time is out, though, for Armani's just pure Lings to do the damage they're looking for, so he has to retreat. But he also had an upgrade lead for that first run by. Combat Shield still is not done. Into the Spear, losing 11 SCVs, not building SCVs from every single command center all the time is really bad. And his Combat Shield was late. His +2 armor is also late. So everything is screwed up here for Spear. Whereas Armani's just, I mean, I think he's doing everything pretty well. And look back at the Zerg base, up to 80 workers, 4 bases, 2-2, 70% done. He is totally fine. And whether he wanted to or not, now Spear has to be quite defensive and very careful with how he does anything. He can't push out. There's no push here to do. He just has to do some drops and hope that it keeps Armani occupied. Thank you very much. I think it was for 11 bucks. Damn. First the 10 gifted subs, then 11 bucks. Thank you very much. Medevac does go down, and another couple of SCVs go down. I think those are Banelings rolling in from the left side. Armani just all over this kid. I don't know how he won the first game, but more and more I'm thinking it's a 2-racks. Spear looking like he's pushing to maybe a would-be 5th. Sometimes the 5th is taken here, but I would say more often it's taken here because there's creep spread already. So he's really heading towards the 4th, but the supply, guys, the supply, it just don't look very good. Oh, a complete surround as well. Oh my god. Baneling's used on tanks, because who gives an F? Oh, Baneling drops. That's what Armani was doing. 9 SCVs go down. Overlord finally dies, but Spear just can't find anything to do here. The 5th is taken care of. Lings quickly responding. Queen's in the main base with some Lings on patrol. Easy defense. He's going to take the opportunity to clean up some creep spread with the leftovers of his push, but dang. Spear is nothing. Armani just needs to max out and push, and I think that's something that Armani might just do soon. Vipers are on the way. 3-3 is started, so maybe he'll wait for the Vipers, but he has a 70 supply lead, and only 40 of that is an army, to be fair, because he has so many workers. But by bringing the attack to your opponent's side, by just being aggressive on them, even if you miscalculate, you have so much time to rebuild the huge economy that you have. And that's okay, yeah. Armani does pull the trigger. GG. Armani is a pretty good Zerg player, and Spear, he is GM. He's GM on Korea, guys.